We'll start with the bad stuff first. It seems to be one a week at the moment. You've got Sagbo now in trouble. Is that one that came out of the blue a little bit?
Well, it certainly is, and I think it's a reminder to everybody, and every player in particular, of social media. I don't think there's any callousness at all in what Yannick has done, but obviously the FA have seen it that it's done enough to offend people, which will defend vigorously, because I don't think Yannick has done anything deliberate. But as I've said repeatedly to the players, with social media the way it is, you've got to be careful, because it's out there for the rest of the world to see, and whether his actions have offended anybody on behalf of the club, then I'll apologise to anybody who's been offended by what he's done. I don't quite understand Twitters and hashtags and all the rest of it, and really don't want to, but I've warned the players and they have been spoken to, and it is an issue that we've all got, because we keep seeing it, and unfortunately it looks as if Yannick has got a case to answer.
You can't ignore it these days, because you may lose him for some games now.
Well, that's the disappointing thing as well. We've had a lot of problems in the last couple of weeks with injuries and what have you, and bad decisions go against us, and it's part and parcel of it. But that is the downside of it, that we could lose him, and especially with semi-finals and finals coming up, and with Long and Jelavic not available, then of course it's a big blow to us.
Every club has a policy on it these days, I think, don't they? It's just a question.
Well, the one thing I think everybody enjoys the light-heartedness of it. It's when you put something out there which does offend people. And as I've said, I don't think with the explanation of Yannick, I mean, of course he has a bit of a language problem, which is genuine. So what he's put out there, we're not too quite sure of why it's offended people, but we'll have to answer the question, and we've got people involved to defend him, because, as I said, we don't think it's anything that he's put out there which is meant to offend people.
So park that one and look forward to the next biggest game of the season this weekend.
We've been saying that for me for weeks, but it's a big. Any time now, we're now in the tickly bit, or whether you're going to win leagues or whether you want to stay in the league. Now is the difficult time, and you get some strange results. Those strange results last week. We've had a tough week last week. We went to West Ham and played exceptionally well with 10 men. Got an awful decision go against us again, which was overturned by the panel. But obviously McGregor's, to this day, is still in hospital now. So, big calls and big decisions went against us. It's fine margins in the Premier League, as we're finding out. Huge fine margins, and we hope this week that we can get the 3 points that I think will be arguably enough to keep us where we want to be.
I've seen other teams come up to the Premier League with players who maybe not experienced it previously, full on if you like. It's the mental exhaustion that seems to get people more than the physical.
Well, it's certainly not physical, because they can handle it physically. It is the mental side of it, and that for me is playing in the Premier League. The really top Premier League players adjust to it, adapt to it, enjoy the challenge of the whole thing. And that's what you've got to aspire to. To become a Premier League player, you've got to hit the heights repeatedly, and that's why they play in the Premier League for year after year after year, because they can handle everything that comes with it. The ones that can't obviously find themselves back up in the lower leagues, and that's no disrespect to the people who play in the lower leagues, but that's usually the big thing. Everybody's got ability. If you're a footballer, you've got ability, but it's the ability to handle it under pressure, playing in big crowds, big stadiums, big arenas, and handle what's put in front of you.
Is that what you've got to keep an eye on? Because to me, El Mohammadi's mistake last week just looked like a tired player at that moment.
Well, certainly El Mohammadi's not missed a game all season, and has done fantastically well with us. And you make a mistake, and you do scratch your head like he does and think, what has he done that for? It was only in the 60th minute, and known Elmo, out of all the people we've got, athletically wise, he's terrific. He never misses a day's training, trains every day. He's made an awful mistake, but then again, James Chester made an awful mistake as well against West Ham. So the one thing you have to do is eradicate those. Individual error, there's nothing you can do about. That's a lack of concentration, and we have to make sure we're better, certainly better, because we've got in this situation because we haven't made silly mistakes like that. we've prided ourselves on making sure that we defensively were right and we don't give much away. We did it to get up last year, and we certainly have done it this year. So we have to eradicate what's sneaked in over the last couple of weeks. It's cost us big points, but let's hope tomorrow we make none.
Yes, it looks like a great opportunity. I mean, if you're after the one win, this looks like
a great opportunity. You know, we've got 6 great opportunities. You know, and we hope to pick up a few draws along the way. And as I said, if you can get to 38 points, and you're a newly promoted team, 38 points is usually enough. So that's got to be our aim. It's always been our aim. We've seen the improvement in the squad, and then we've got big plans for the club in terms of the infrastructure and academy and training ground, and that's all become within a year of getting here. And we've seen, for me more importantly than anything, we've seen the difference in the squad to where we were a year ago. And that's no disrespect to the lads who are here and who've gone, but the squad is unrecognisable, and that's the ability to stay in the Premier League. That's where it attracts, and that's what our aim has got to be, just to stay here and make sure that we keep improving.
The Swansea have had their wobbles this season, in the last few weeks even, and then, well, from what I saw in the last week, looked almost back to their best, I thought.
Well, Swansea are an ideal example of a club to follow, something similar along the lines of our club, which had been in the lower divisions for year after year after year. They had a plan to go forward, and all credit to everybody concerned at Swansea. They play a certain brand of football where you know whoever they play, they're going to have the lion's share of the ball and keep possession, and they've done that year in and year out. And when you look at them, Michu's come back in, which has been missing, which always, no matter what team, you miss your best players. He makes a big difference to them, and the boy Boney up front has got 17, 18 goals, which is a terrific return in the first year. So they're a good side, really good side. I think everybody didn't expect them to be at the wrong end of the table because of how well they've done. I think it's an addition of Europe, a couple of players missing. The European thing is a big call for a lot of teams because you're having to play Thursday, Sunday, and it'll be interesting to see their tally of results after coming back playing in Europe. I always think that's very difficult.
It's going to be a day. I think that the fans can play a big part between now and then.
Well, that's huge. They have to be. They have to put aside the issues which they've got with name changes. They need to get behind the team now, and how vital that is to any team playing at home. They've seen their team. We need an atmosphere in the ground tomorrow a bit similar to what Cardiff was. We need them to be right on the edge of their seats, you know, supporting the team as best they possibly can, because they can play their part. No doubt they can play their part, and I know some have got issues over bad changes and all the rest of it. Let's leave that aside and make sure they concentrate on helping the team. That would be vitally important.
Steve, just to check with on the Segway thing, will that be a personal hearing, and do you know when that's going to be?
It will be a personal hearing, yes. It will be a personal hearing, yeah, and we don't know when it's going to be just yet. We haven't got a date for that yet, just yet. No.
Yeah, is it? I suppose you want to get it done as soon as possible rather than hanging over you.
Well, it's something that we've been made aware of for weeks, so they've took the time over at the FA to study it and what have you. We think it's, you know, we're going to say this and defend him vigorously because we don't think he's tried to offend anybody. You know, I mean, you know, it's out there for everybody to see, and as I said repeatedly, if it has offended people on behalf of the club, then we will apologise. But we don't think Yannick has tried to do anything to offend anybody.
Sure. Have you followed this Sunderland story that's happened overnight? That they've been fined for fielding an ineligible player.
Ineligible player?
Yeah.
Who's the ineligible player?
The can't remember anyway.
Korean player.
Well, Key?
Yeah.
No, the other one.
No.
G.
Yeah. So they fielded him in 4 matches, and it's just come out that in November they were fined, but it was never made public until it's just come out today.
I don't really want to comment and get myself into more trouble. You're fishing for something, and I'm not. I've had enough fines this year, but that's pretty bizarre stuff. And so it's only just surfaced now.
Yeah.
And he played in 4 games.
Yeah.
Then they should be in serious trouble. I would have thought.
The anticipation would be a points deduction, wouldn't it?
I don't know. It's the first I've heard of it. I was babysitting last night, and that was more important. But it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. I would have thought so, though.
What's his, you said McGregor's still in hospital?
Yeah, we're hoping that he comes out. We're hoping that he comes out tomorrow, or by the weekend anyway. He's out of the high dependency unit. Things have gone as well as they could have done for Alan in the circumstances. It shows you what type of injury it is that he's still in hospital 10 days later. So we wish him obviously a speedy recovery. Typical Alan, the doctor says he's got to be out for 6 weeks, and said to me on the telephone, yeah, but the final's 7 weeks away, the FA Cup final. So typical Alan, he'll do everything he possibly can to get himself back, and for now we've just got to make sure that we do the right thing by him, and he recovers for what is a really nasty injury.
Steve, I was filming with fans yesterday that camped overnight for Wembley tickets, and they said there was a bit of a feel-good factor again around the club. Is that filtering through to the players?
Well, it certainly gives them excitement, and I'm delighted for the community. I've only been here a couple of years, and I know how tough it is. I know how tough that some families in particular and people of Hull find it difficult. You know, we've got high unemployment running through the city, so anything that can give them a lift is fantastic. And let's be fair, over the years they haven't had really much to shout about, so a Wembley appearance would be terrific for them. That's what it's all about. It's about, when you get to this stage, the excitement of seeing people making their plans to go to Wembley, and I think it was 1930 since we last time we were there, so fantastic. I'm delighted that they're camping overnight, are they? Wow, dear oh dear. Terrific.
On the other night, all the way through till when the doors opened yesterday morning.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's terrific to see, and let's hope we can, after this weekend, we can have a really good weekend and enjoy the big occasion, because it is an occasion to enjoy, as long as obviously you win.
And is that atmosphere and that sort of good feeling, is that filtering through to the squad and the players?
Well, I think so. I think most of them. I think we're all concentrating on tomorrow, but it's always in the back of your mind that if you're a player, you're playing in a big occasion, and of course next week we can focus totally on it. And as I've said repeatedly, it's a wonderful occasion, an FA Cup semi-final. You know, and it gets the better of a lot of players, especially when it's at Wembley now. But the one thing you have to try and do is enjoy it, and the only way you enjoy it, as I said, is to win and get through it. So that's got to be our aim, beginning of next week.
And in the meantime, focusing on the Premier League and you know.
Well, we've got to. If we can win tomorrow, we're virtually there. You know, West Ham had a great win in the week, and got to 37 points, and are virtually there now. It would be very, very difficult for the teams at the bottom, you know, to go and get 12, 13 points at this stage of the season is very, very difficult. You've got to hit Champions League form to try and get it, and it doesn't really usually happen very often anyway.
Steve, sorry, to go to the last one more question. Is it any sort of concerns that the players are going to be thinking too much about the FA Cup tomorrow?
Well, I honestly, well, I can only go back to my own experiences to think it's a nice distraction. You'd rather have a feel-good factor than be bottom of the league, We've got it all to play for. We've got a great week to face. You know, we've got ourselves in a wonderful position. We've been doing particularly well all season. We've got to see it through and have one of them memorable seasons. Can we get to an FA Cup final and stay in the Premier League? If we can do that, then for a club like ours, it would be a terrific achievement. And that's got to be our aim. I would rather have it that way than be bottom of the league and not have just a fight to look forward to. I would rather have it the way it is. And if people are slightly distracted, then so be it.
Will you tell the players they're playing for their Wembley
Of course. Yeah. And there's 2 places up for grabs because Jelic and Long can't play. So, you know, there is 5 of them volunteered to play on Monday and behind closed doors at Bradford. That doesn't usually happen very often. So they can all, they're all desperate to play, and rightly so. It doesn't come around very often.
Gary Monk, what sort of situation is it for him taking over at a club where he knows everyone and then becomes manager?
Well, I think that was key. I think that was key to it, was he could bring an instant stability. And I think you have to say hats off to him too, for a young up and coming coach, manager, whatever he wants to do. He's handled the situation fantastically well. Got on with it very quietly. Got a result against his big neighbours in the first game he played. I think that would have helped him enormously. And everybody knows he's been there. He's been there for the last 10 years. So he's brought a bit of continuity. And when you are sacking a manager, it can be a difficult time. Of course it can. And for a young lad like himself to come and handle it the way he's done, then he's probably made the job his own, I would have thought, with the job he's done. Whether he wants to do that, that's only for him to answer to. But looking from afar, he's done a fantastic job, the lad.
George Boyd will be back, I think, this weekend. His suspension is up. How is he after it all? I mean, he's had to sit this out, and it's been quite a tough experience for him.
Well, we feel we've been on the wrong end of a few decisions. And as I said, and I've said repeatedly to defend George Boyd would never. He was absolutely aghast that people accused him of it, because he's not capable of doing it. And we know the lad now on pictures. Yes, you can see pictures, but we've got pictures to show Joe Hart spitting all over him. When you're shouting and bawling at each other from 6 inches away from each other, it certainly wasn't the case. And he can rightly feel aggrieved. Thankfully, suspension's over in a week. It could ended up being one over a month, and then it does become frustrating. So we've had some shocking decisions go against us. We had a shocker against West Ham as well the other week there. And I think that's 5 or 6 times now away from home. Big calls we've had. And certainly with George, we feel aggrieved that he got suspended in the first place.
And just finally, any more team news? Anyone available?
No, everybody's okay.
Hey, Steve, just on David Moyle, he's really nailed on first place. How impressed have you been with him?
Well, it was always a challenge laid down to David, with the arrival of Jake and the arrival of Tom. I'm never surprised with David and what he's capable of. The big thing with David was to keep him on the pitch. He had a horrific knee injury at Sunderland, and was just getting over it really when he came to us. He had a great impact when he came to us, and nothing phases him. He enjoys his football, and he's a delight to manage. Apart from his social media work, that drives me nuts now and again, but on the pitch, he's a terrific lad and plays. What you see is what you get repeatedly with David, and he's a manager's dream.
Do you think the next step up for him is to nail down a place at international level?
Well, if he gets in there, he'll be difficult to shift, because, as I said to you, he gives you everything he's got. Technically, he sometimes goes a little bit astray, but he's worked so hard on his left foot. I mean, he's scored twice this year with his left foot, and he's improved year on and year in. He keeps improving, so nothing surprises me with David.